All right, welcome to the Key Ministry Disability Ministry Video Roundtable for the month of October 2020. My name is Beth Golick from Key Ministry, and we have an awesome group that's already joining us here today. And I'm really glad about that because our topic today is planning for the holidays, our church's Christmas, and COVID-19. And this is a roundtable. This is not a webinar. So the whole idea is that we are going to gather around our virtual table today and really just help each other figure out what Christmas is going to look like this year for our ministries. We represent churches from all over the country. And so I know some of you are already, 100% back in your buildings, although I doubt every family that you serve is back. Some of you are 100% not in your buildings and will not be in your buildings for the holidays for sure, and even well into next year. So I guess I just want to open it up. Would anybody like to start with, does anybody have a plan? Does their church have a plan for what Christmas might look like this year? And if not, this could be a really short roundtable. Would anybody like to get us kicked off?
Well, I can just share that I thought my church is utilizing a resource because our pastor's wife happens to work for the local arts council.
Okay.
And so they have phrased this Christmas the heart, using art really well emphasized, the heart of Christmas. And so for right now, all they've put out is bring your gift. Are you a musician? Are you a graphic artist? What do you have to give to contribute to Christmas at church this year? And so I haven't heard details about this plan yet, but I thought that was a really great approach to this, is because then we could put something together virtually, we could put something together in person if we're allowed to. And so for right now, they're just kind of calling for, different senses, different ways to involve different media and things like that.
I love that. And I love that it's involving everyone because everyone has such unique gifts to bring. And so I love that. So you'll have to keep us posted, Tori, on what that ends up looking like.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, I'm excited about it because I know we have, for example, a 14-year-old boy who happens to be blind, but he happens to be really great at playing the piano. And so he usually does something at Christmas time. My son is 14, he plays guitar. Okay. My husband's an artist. Obviously the pastor's wife does art. So I'm excited about where this could go. It could be really, really fun. And
remind me, is your church, are you in person at this point? What level are you in at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are doing Facebook Live, and the way that they have approached doing things in person is they've actually created two services that sort of overlap each other. So we have a 10 a.m. service for whoever can show up by 10, and then at 10:30 starts the other service. And so they're in opposite ends of the building in larger gathering spaces, sitting around tables wearing masks. Okay. So set up kind of like a restaurant would be, right? So you wear your mask when you're moving around, but if you're sitting down at your table and not speaking or singing, you can take off your mask if you're just sitting there with your family group.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely want to hear more as that develops. Would anybody else like to share what your church might be doing for the holidays? Yes, Richard.
Well, Jillian had put on our board thing something about a denomination that was having a craft in a box that they did together over Zoom.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you all saw that. Kind of got me thinking. I came here looking for ideas. We have about 40% of our folks that are coming in person, which means about 60% of our people are still at home. Mm-hmm. And our summer stuff was canceled, our Christmas program's canceled, everything's canceled. And so I thought, well, what a cool idea of something that you kick it up a notch, not an Oriental Trader kind of junk. That's not right to say, but you know what I mean.
We know what you mean.
And, and so those that are at home, most of our folks live with families. So those that are home, we would deliver a box and they could join us on Facebook Live or whatever, and those in persons, we could spread out in a big room and do a craft. But for Laugh at Me, what would that be? I was hoping to come here today with some brilliant minds that could think of something.
Well, actually, Richard, this just might be your day, because I'm looking over in the chat and Christy is sharing that for their families, they're subsidizing orders of Advent blocks sets that come with a daily reading and will be great to use year after year. And she even listed a website. So adventblocks.com. I am definitely going to check that out. So
Thank
there's
you.
an idea right there. That was worth your price of admission right there.
Oh, yes, thank you.
No, I love that idea, but Richard and Christy, I love that idea of gifting families with something that they can do, in the comfort and safety of their home, but that's really going to tie into the message. I'm sure that, you'll each have, whatever your programming looks like, whether it's a Facebook Live or live stream, whatever you're doing, that way they'll have a tangible something that goes along with this virtual message and virtual gatherings. I love that. I will totally be copying that, just saying. So thank you.
If you look at the Advent Blocks website too, so somebody else on our team found it and kind of got it all organized for us, but churches get a discount. Like, we have it set up so that our families will order with a discount code. And so they cost, I think, $35 for a set. They're wooden blocks, and literally it comes with like, your team doesn't have to do anything, which for us this year was like, yes. But don't let the cost deter you. You can talk to the company, and it's I think it's like a pastor and his wife who have started this, selling them. And so it's worth contacting them about discounts and that sort of thing too,
Okay.
for families.
That's great to know. See all the tips that you learn on these video roundtables? Great. Thank you for sharing that. So that's adventblocks.com. And I will definitely be checking that out and sharing that with our team here. All right. Anybody else?
I got something.
Yes, Aaron.
Hi, my name's Aaron Spangler, and I'm very excited to be here for this. I work in conjunction with Sherry Greenfield, who has been a part of your groups and is here as well. But I just want to share what we're doing.
Okay.
I volunteer at the church, and I'm on staff with Sherry, helping with the disability ministry at our church. But I also work for a local nonprofit, which provides services for the special needs community through day programs, residential, and others. That's my full-time job.
Okay.
Our church and this provider have a very strong connection, and every year we get together with different groups, different activities, and as you can imagine, very few things have been able to go on this year because of COVID.
Absolutely.
One thing that we typically do, and is always a highlight of the year, is every year we always did a huge Christmas program. And as we started thinking about it, how could we do something, because our individuals lost like their special dance this year. They lost a bunch of fun activities over the summer. They lost some fun activities in the spring. They lost a lot. So we were like, how could we make sure that we're able to give them this one big thing to look forward to? Because of the size of our church, we have access to certain technologies. Our church is in person right now, but also still online, and so we have access to a platform online where they can where we have those Sunday morning services. So, in conjunction with the church and with the agency, we are working on creating an online Christmas program. Okay. It's a lot of work, and it just takes, basically what we're doing is we are filming the different parts either at our location of our day programs, at our church, or having people film their own parts and send it in. And then we are going to put it together to become one program, which will then be online. And we'll have it on a local cable channel as well.
Okay, so there's so many things I like about what you just shared, Aaron. So let me kind of recap a few of these, and then I have more questions for you. So first of all, I love that that you personally are on staff at two organizations that are working collaboratively to serve more people. And so that's like a kingdom building thing, and I love that. So thank you. Also, I love that what I'm hearing is that you are having folks, you're recording people who would normally be part of this program. So
Yes.
okay, and then, so in whatever way that they're comfortable, so if it's they're filming themselves or you're sending a crew or whatever, okay.
Right.
So I love that, because that way, you're continuing to involve people, and so that's beautiful. So let me ask you a question. Is this program like the Nativity story kind of thing? Is that what it is?
Typically every year I would write a play that the individuals, I would write it so that different individuals would have different parts, and some that couldn't speak would have a role, and so that I would formulate it for each individual. So, but with this year and with the social distancing and stuff, we aren't doing it as a typical play. What I am doing is we are interviewing individuals with different questions, like, what's your favorite thing about Christmas? What's your favorite part of the Christmas story? And then we're going to have those interviews. We're also asking different individuals to say Merry Christmas, and then we're going to have like a huge like a Zoom shot of like everyone saying it at the very end.
Oh,
So, and we also have a couple musical acts that we'll be putting in this. So we aren't typically doing the nativity scene. What we are doing is we are going to have several people in costume, and we have a musician who works with our individuals who will sing a song, and then we're gonna put in clips of some of the parts of the nativity story in it. So even though it will not be the typical nativity story that we usually do, it will still have the whole Christmas story in it.
I love that. Okay, thank you. And so you did point out that you are from a church where you have access to technology. Just out of curiosity, what church are you with, and where?
Church of the Open Door in York, Pennsylvania.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
All right. Any questions for Aaron, or would anybody else like to share what they're thinking about?
The online aspect. So our church is maybe trying to do a drive-in kind of Christmas Eve service, maybe, or multiple services, maybe. But we did say there's going to be a large percentage of people who will not want to do that probably and access it more online. The thought of like taking my entire family like in one vehicle and like sitting in the church parking lot for a while, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. So we're thinking about like, how do we make it the most accessible, right, for like everyone. And we do have a lot of people in the community, and shows is true for some of your churches, that we see on Christmas and Easter, and maybe not in between then. And so how do we connect with those folks when we're not just like, hey, come to our location and have hot chocolate and cookies, and we'll do candles and all this stuff. So I like all the different things. Like that online aspect, I'm really trying to figure out how could we do that? And certainly technology is out there, but yeah.
Yeah. So Bronwyn's in California. So their weather in December is theoretically nicer than Cleveland's, which is where I am. However, here's what our church is thinking about doing for Christmas Eve service. We are contemplating, and I'm not part of the committee that is deciding this, but we are looking at doing an outdoor, like have a big Christmas tree and have an outdoor like Christmas carol type service as our family friendly service, with the idea that if we're not doing in person inside, that's kind of limiting exposure during a time when like lots of visitors are coming into like there's going to be a lot more intermingling of outside people during the holidays. And so that is one idea to get around having a whole bunch of people inside the church. So like I love the idea of Christmas carols, like it could be, bring in a big tree. We have a courtyard kind of thing. everybody gets to take home an ornament, like that type of thing. And it would be really great for families. It's just, I mean, weather, it could be really bad. So anyway, does anybody have any ideas surrounding that? Let's see, I'm looking over. Bronwyn's kids have worn shorts on Christmas Day before. Yeah, so have mine, but it's also been, you know, like 10 degrees when they did it. And their state is not really allowed to worship inside, so outdoor it is. Yeah. All right, any other thoughts or ideas? So far here's what we've talked about. So for those of you who have joined us after we started, so one idea was to gift families with like a craft type of thing. So in this case, it was Advent blocks, adventblocks.com. And so then they're able to participate in, you know, the Advent season and the, like, I'm assuming teachings and programs that are going on virtually throughout that time, but they have the actual physical Advent block set to do at home. And then another church is doing a program and they're splicing together video from, you know, from their different participants who would normally be participating in person. We've got the drive-in service idea. And then, shoot, I didn't write down the first idea. The first one, oh yes, asking for gifts. So yeah, that was Victoria. So their church is right now asking people to, do I have this right, Tori? They're asking people to share their, oh, it's the heart of Christmas, right? So they're like, you know, whether they're musically inclined or artistic, like just bringing together these ideas, and they're going to build something out of that, but they're not quite sure what yet. All right, what else? I told you this could be a short one, but I know it's October. We still have to start figuring this out. Yes, Jasmine.
So my context is a bit different because I don't work for a church. I work for a nonprofit organization that serves people with developmental disabilities, but we have a faith background. So my role in the organization is to work with local churches to help equip them. I do a lot of like disability training and inclusion awareness and stuff like that. So I'm here to learn so that I can hopefully help equip our local churches. But also I work a lot with the people that use our services. We've been meeting through Zoom and having a lot of kind of like social and self-advocacy meetings and stuff. So I want to learn from this to help them plan what they want to do through Christmas. So I haven't talked to any of our local churches yet, but I have been talking to the group of people that use our services, and they've come up with a couple ideas.
Oh, good.
So we're having a party on December 3rd to celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. So not Christmas, but similar. And for that one, they're going to do similar to that heart idea. They're going to do a talent show calling for people to pre-record videos of themselves displaying their talents or reading a poem or telling a story. And then we'll do a live event that night and play the videos. And before people come to that one, they're all supposed to make paper snowflakes and decorate the space behind them with paper snowflakes, so that there's a consistent theme. When you see everybody on screen, it's like we're all together even though we're separate. The snowflakes are also because it's the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and each disability is unique. Each person is unique. Each snowflake is unique. So that's one. We also usually have a big Christmas party in person where we have gifts for all the different group homes that people get to take home, and Santa and Mrs. Claus come to that. I think what we'll do, we'll have somebody as Santa, or maybe just somebody, drive to each of the locations and drop off the gifts that we normally would have given. So it's usually a gingerbread house or an arrangement of greenery to sit on your table. Somebody's asking the name of our organization. It's Christian Horizons. So we're in Ontario, Canada. We're also in Saskatchewan. But we also have a global branch, but I'm not involved with that. So we've got about 230 group homes and residential locations in Ontario. We support about 1,500 people in Canada. My scope though is just Ottawa, Ontario, and Kingston. So it's about 180 people that we support. that's kind of who I'm working with. Anyway, so that party, I think we'll go deliver the gifts that we normally would be giving anyways. I think we will have a Zoom party where, you know, Santa will be there because that's very important to a lot of people. But what we often do at our Christmas party in person, which I need to figure out how we translate it to online, is I have these giant Bristol board posters of very like simple but clear images. There's about, I think, 8 of them telling the Christmas story. So the first one is Mary and an angel, and then Mary and Joseph and the donkey. And then I have other ones that say like angels and the innkeeper and stuff like that. And when we're all together, we hold up the first poster, and I get audience participation. So the people that don't use words to communicate can hold the posters. People that do use words, they shout out the answer. And all together, there's usually about 150 of us in the room. People shout out the answers, and we put together the Christmas story verbally by using these picture cards as the cues. So, and then when people get an answer right, they're invited to come up and hold a sign saying angels or innkeeper, whatever. They get to be characters kind of. So we usually end up with about 20 people at the front of the room. And so I need to figure out how to translate that to Zoom. I'm thinking we could use the chat function or calling out on Zoom, but it just depends how many people are in the room. But I think that will still work somehow. Maybe I'll turn the images into that I can share my screen, and then people can do that. So I don't know. Those are the ideas I have right now, but it's very fuzzy. I still need to work on it.
I love that. I would love to see your in-person one too. But I love like how you're also involving your nonverbal participants as well. And I think Erin also had some ideas for that. I wonder if you could, now if you have like 150 person Zoom, this would be a little bit harder, but I wonder if you could mail or email as an attachment or something, you know, somehow have people either download or you provide them the images, and then as you say it, like everybody could hold up, you know, the angel image on their screen. So that way they're continuing to interact. I don't know.
I like that. Yeah, we could flip it because it's easy to talk, harder to, yeah, but if they could visually interact. Thank you.
And going off of that, I was also thinking maybe if you can't send them the image because of the amount of people, maybe you could associate each of your pictures with a color or something, so they could just hold up something that's yellow for the angels or something green for the shepherds or something like that as well, which would be easier than you having to send 150 people 10 different items.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Idea. Yeah, or even you know, if there's like a, I don't know.
We
like
could do a scavenger hunt too. Like we've been doing a lot of, we do a weekly Zoom call just for social stuff, and we did a Thanksgiving party, and but I wonder if we could do a scavenger hunt, like, you know, first an angel came and talked to Mary, so find something in your house. Do you have any angels? Because people usually have Christmas angels, they could hold it up. Okay, and then they went, you know, like, do you have a star? Do you have a, and get people to find things in their house to visually interact with the story. I think maybe we'll try something like that. Thank you guys. This is
thank you. Thank you. And Ingrid is asking, where did you get the images that you use on your posters for your live event?
I just made them about 10 years ago. I cut out construction paper and I made these really simple images. And then it went so well that year that I went and got them laminated, which cost like over $100. And I didn't realize it was going to be that much. When I would pick it up, I was like, oh my gosh, I wasted money. But we've used them every single year for like the past 10 years. And
I think you're
it was
good.
worth it.
You've analyzed it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, that was a good idea. Does that get anybody thinking about something else?
It reminded me, sorry, I'm from Johnny and Friends, Pennsylvania. One of our other offices in New England, when they tell a story like that, they use a lot of the same things you were talking about, Jasmine. But one of the other things that my one coworker does is she'll have different people come dressed up as that thing. So like if she's telling the story of Pharaoh and the plagues, she'll just send out an email and be like, okay, so I need some people to be pharaohs and I need some people to be frogs or something. And it'll be like, for Pharaoh, you need one towel to put on your head. Like it's not a whole costume, but bring a towel. And if you're a frog, wear a green shirt or something like that. And then when they get on, she'll be like, okay, where are my frogs? And then they'll raise their hands, and where are my pharaohs? And they'll raise their hands. A staff can be a pencil, like super, super simple stuff. but then they're involved in the story in the same ways that you're talking about.
I love that. I love that. All right, anybody else? What ideas did that generate?
Well, one for me, because I just love these ideas so much. And we've often used props. You're talking about a king, all you need is a crown, but it's a lot of work. And sometimes our participants aren't able to really get it together to bring something, although I can imagine that would be fantastic for them to supply because they're already feeling good about what they're going to do. But I just want to know, Jasmine, if you're willing to share those drawings, because to have a supply of characters ready-made, they stack flat. I love that for storage. It's just such a super idea. I can imagine so many uses for that, both live and virtually.
Yeah, I'll scan them if you want, and I can send them to anybody. I'll put my email in the chat. So if you're interested, just send me an email, and I have to get them. They're at my office. I've been working from home for the past 8 months because I'm immunocompromised, but I will get them, scan them, and then I can send them out by email, and you can make your own, but it just gives you an idea.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
I had a question that maybe you guys I could use the 22 other brains on here to answer. So it got me, like what Jasmine was saying about just involving people, it got me thinking about how many aspects of the Advent season and Christmas Eve, like where we involve other people. So we'll have, families praying like on a certain week for the Advent season, or on our Christmas Eve services, like one family like does the prayer each service, and we have like families who do greeting and all this stuff. So I'm thinking, how, because we won't be able to gather, right? Like normally, like how can we still involve like families and volunteers, like kind of keep those aspects of connection going, even though it's going to look really different? I don't know if anyone's like, I don't know if that question even makes sense, but in my head, it sort of did.
No, I mean, I think this totally makes sense. And part of why I'm glad that we're having this conversation today. So yeah, let's talk volunteers for a second. Has anybody had any ideas on how they're going, especially if you're not back in person yet, how to, continue to engage your volunteers in something throughout this time, into the Advent season? You're like, I don't have any ideas. That's why I came to this round table.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that was like, what are we going to be doing? What are we doing?
And I know, I mean, October is kind of early, and yet it's not. So, I mean, that, big church is figuring out what this is going to look like. So, Sylvia, I'm looking at you. What's going on with you these days? You always have good ideas.
Trying not to be crazy here in the midst of all of this that's going on. We're still not in church and won't be probably until 2022. But what are we doing? I can't remember.
Have you thought about the holidays at all? Like, are you going to do anything different, or just keep doing what you're doing? And I know you're doing great things.
Well, Buddy Break we'll do something different for Buddy Break. This month we're doing costume drive-bys, dropping off stuff. Thanks. November we're doing dinner with them, brunch meal virtually. And for the life of me, I just can't remember what we're doing for December, because that's too far in my 69-year-old brain to remember. But yes, now we are going to do some kind of gifts for them. What we normally do is at our Buddy Break events, we do a like a Santa secret shop where the children can come in and pick gifts for their care providers, a gift for them and a gift for their care providers. And what we've done is we've sent out a link to the parents asking them what their favorite restaurant is and different things that they like that would be personable to them, like what stores they frequent, grocery stores. And so we're going to be getting gift cards and gifts from those stores, and we'll probably either mail or do a drive-by again.
Okay, great. See, I told you Sylvia always has.
But I mean, life is virtual for us, and
Yeah.
it's just a matter of trying to navigate that virtual scene, of trying to keep them engaged even through Sunday school lessons and those kinds of things. But it's too early for me to think about Christmas right now. I got to get through Saturday when we do our buddy break. So it's like,
so it's for those of you who don't know Sylvia, she was not kidding when she said their church is probably not going back to till 2022. So she was very serious. So but she's continuing to engage to engage her volunteers and her participants. So
yeah, we try to make sure we call our volunteers on a regular basis. We still have monthly meetings where they come to meetings. We played Kahoot with them and did scavenger hunts and everything, and then send them prizes for those who won those particular games and everything. So we do try to keep them engaged, continue to call them on a regular basis, send emails. We have a newsletter that we send out to them to kind of keep them up on community events and those kinds of things that they can participate in, like when free meals are being distributed, well, free food is being distributed, and all of those kinds of things. So we just try to stay busy with connecting with them.
Good. Yep, that's all we can do at this point. So you said Kahoot, and that just reminded me. So I know many of you are familiar with Kahoot, and we were using it here for a while, but Bronwyn, I'm looking at you on this one. So would it make sense to do some kind of like Advent related, family fun night that had Kahoot? I don't know, like some kind of virtual something or other, just throwing that out there. Has anybody thought about that?
Yeah, we've been using Kahoot quite a bit in our 5th and 6th grade ministry. So right now we have once a month, we have a Zoom meeting for 5th and 6th grade. And then once a month we have an in-person meeting, but that's brand new. So for all these months we are doing online. And that group really does love Kahoot a lot because they can like operate it themselves. And the junior high group does it as well. So I would imagine, even if it's not a whole church thing, I would imagine our youth team, we're gonna work on some kind of Christmas Kahoot. Yeah, and it's a fun way for kids to engage. Like I said, the 5th and 6th grade particularly really love it, and that's been going really well. And we do have some kids in that group, especially that are not able to come back to church in person, like in any capacity. So they've been able to stay on with that and connect with people.
Okay, good. So Sylvia mentioned, gifting families with like a gift card or something like that. Any other, like, is anybody making any plans in like along those lines for some type of, well, Sylvia, let me ask you, is the gift, like, will it just be, here's for the family, or is it, hey, Joey, here's a gift for you to give your mom? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it, like for Father's Day, I sent my students a gift card. It was like a $10 gift card, but each to like the local wings place, and so that they could give it to their dad for Father's Day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I have to process it.
Yeah. Well, it adds a whole layer of,
Yeah, that's a whole nother dimension of how you got to navigate life. And we're still pretty much in phase 2, 3 of life here. So
Mhm.
it's, we don't have contact with folks.
Right. And I think I have a much smaller group that I'm working with than you do. So, so some of these things are more manageable. Yeah. Has anybody else been thinking of like gifting families with something? So we talked about Advent blocks. We've talked about like a, maybe gift card to, I don't know, possibly a restaurant or something like that. How about,
We're doing the,
yeah, go ahead. Oh, go ahead,
Oh.
Jessica.
yeah, so Severin here on the West Coast, Portland, Oregon with the Elisha Foundation. And we just had a regional meeting with some of the churches here and different ideas, some of the volunteers, encouraging them to send just some sort of like a gift package to, their buddy that they normally would see on Sunday. And that wasn't specifically around Advent, but I think around Advent, you could definitely kind of set a tone to the gifts, whether it's giving them a weekly gift that they open, every Sunday, or but just something to kind of prepare their hearts, to really celebrate the season of the coming of Christ and the longing for his return. And so that every week they opening a gift and knowing, hey, okay, this is getting closer. And whether it's a simple scripture and a simple gift that they can put on the mantle or something like that, the Advent blocks is a great idea. But yeah, I think with the volunteers, trying to get them to stay connected. Another idea that, going back to the previous question with the volunteers, is one church here, and a larger church, they have buddies regularly on Sunday. And so some of the buddies have taken the message and from a normal Sunday service and condensed it down to like a 3 to 4 minute kind of recap that they just make a video of. And then they send that to the person that's in charge of the buddies at the church. And that person then kind of distributes it out to those individuals that they normally wouldn't, they're not seeing, obviously, because they're not there on Sunday. But it gives the individual a chance to connect to their buddy, as well as get kind of a condensed message that is hopefully applicable to them. And that's a simple way, but it's personal. So that's, I think, a tension that we all have to manage is, we weren't created for this kind of virtual world. John says, I have much to write to you, but I'd rather see you face to face. So how to navigate both those virtual realities, but also trying to make it a personal touch. So whether that's sending a gift or whether that's, sending just a little condensed video message of the Sunday service so that they get to see their buddy. And, there's a little shout out, hey, I missed you. I look forward to seeing you again. Those are just a couple ideas that we're talking about here.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And what a great way to, continue to engage and involve your volunteers. Very cool. Thanks. Barb.
Yeah, so we every year do our gifts actually for our volunteers. And what we do is we pick out a Bible verse for the year that kind of we want to have everyone thinking about how we appreciate them and how they have shown that during the year. And then we give them a little ornament that goes with the Bible verse. So that's always been pretty popular. We'll probably this year also extend that to some of our kids and families since they're not all back. But it's just like a nice little personal touch, and people seem to appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we normally do something, but we give it in person. So, we'll see. We'll have to figure that out. Al is from New Jersey and is sharing in the chat that with Young Life Capernaum in Northern New Jersey, they're trying to do more scheduled in-home visits this fall. So that's one-on-one with masking and distancing. And they'll probably have a drive-by trunk or treat Halloween event next week. And it's likely they'll do something like those related to Christmas. And actually, so thank you, Al, for sharing that. And that something else that somebody said earlier, and you're all jumping around on my screen, so now I can't remember who said it, but what about doing So as an outside event, so my church did, when you have like those storybook trail things at parks and you go from station to station and you read parts of the story. So all summer we did an outdoor Bible Path challenge. And so there were 9 different stations. And so families could come, it was all outside, on their own time so that, there were no crowds at all. And even though we're done with it, we're not doing it this fall. There could be some version of that for the Advent season. So families could walk through, outdoors on their own whenever it's not staffed. So that might be another idea too. Kind of along the lines of like a drive-through something or other, except it's just stations that are there and you don't have to staff it at a particular time. Jasmine, did that make you think of something?
Yeah, when I was a kid, we went to a church that had their Christmas pageant was kind of set up like that. So it wasn't to do it at your own schedule. It was at a specific time, but it was a walk through the woods. And so you would go through in your family and there'd be the first stage where there'd be someone dressed as the angel and they would kind of act out that scene. And then you'd walk along a path that was lit with candles. You'd go to the next scene and you worked your way through the Christmas story. And it probably took like 40 minutes to go through it all. Now it means your actors are standing outside for that whole time. But it was a neat way to see a Christmas pageant that wasn't just sitting and watching. And it would work very well for COVID and social distancing.
Yeah.
Depends
That's
on your
sort of
weather. It's a little harder up
bigger
here in Canada.
Oh yeah. That's sort of a bigger production than one that I've seen done that I was thinking about as you guys were talking is they call it a live nativity, where, they just have farm animals from a local farm or petting zoo or something like that come and put on a live nativity, and you could have families come by appointment, or, you get your 10 minutes in the live nativity scene with your family. You could have it be set up that way. So I was thinking about that. The other one that I was curious about is if anybody is doing like a one-time sort of Bible study or anything, using something like, let me see if I can share my screen and show you this. Well, I don't know if this will work.
Yep.
Like these from the Together curriculum. So I know they have the Joseph one, there's a Mary one, and then there's the Magi one. And I just have heard that groups are having a lot of success using this virtually. So I didn't know if anybody had done that as a like intergenerational or thought about using that as an intergenerational way to connect people if you are only doing virtual, and just plain old have it be, a Bible study time focused on Christmas. There are video elements, there are take-home things that can be printed off and you could mail them to them or drop them off with people, or they could print it themselves or different things like that. And it's really reasonably priced. So anyway, just curious if anybody had any experience using those as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anyone have experience with that? No, okay. Something you said, Tori, reminded me of another idea. When you said the live nativity by appointment, so when I heard by appointment, that reminded me of something that our ministry did several years ago. And that is, we had a photographer who happens to be on staff, but he did family portraits for our special needs families so they could make an appointment. The idea is we did it in the classrooms that the kids are normally in. So it's in a area that they're familiar with, an environment that they're familiar with. There's no pressure. So it's not like when you go, now it wasn't a Santa thing, but it's not like, if you're trying to get your picture done at the mall so you could send out a Christmas card. The photographer's phenomenal and he's just so good and patient and just he can work with if the kid's getting down here, he'll get down there and photograph the kid. And so basically he did this, provided every family with a free photo, and then if they wanted to order Christmas cards they could. But that's something that if you have any part of your building that's open, and if you have a photographer who is, willing to be, wear the mask and all that kind of stuff and keep the social, it's actually incredibly easy to do pictures in a social distancing manner. So anyway, so
You
that's
can even
never-
do that outside. I have a
That's
friend that's
true.
a photographer up in the northern section of Michigan, and there's always this antique fire truck that they'll park outside with like some
That's
cool
brilliant.
Christmas trees leaning up against it for the month of December, and she does photo shoots out there. So you could do a really cool
Yeah, that's even better.
scene out there if the families, right? If that would work for the families. I know
Right.
that you have to think for different needs, and
Yeah.
outside pictures doesn't always work for
Okay.
families with various disabilities. So.
Right. And also Victoria shared in the chat the website for the curriculum that she showed us, and it's togethersmallgroups.org. So, all right. Well, this has been really helpful for me. Thank you. Any other ideas or comments or suggestions?
Yeah, we just had one. Julie ducked out, so I'm going to talk about it. We're doing porch portraits right now because we're pretty socially distanced. We're back in with about 200 per service, but obviously our Stars ministry is not back in live. So we've got 2 photographers from the church that are going around that just do this on the side and taking porch portraits. We typically give out a calendar of all the stars. The disability ministry gives it out at Christmas time. We have a huge, like 1,200 people in the sanctuary, pack the place for typically for a huge play and the disability choir. So this year we're giving out calendars, but we're going to have all the porch portraits on them, and then we typically put the stars picture on the date of their birthday for their calendar. So the porch portraits have been extremely, and it's been fun to do because we're getting really good pictures of the family members too together for that. So, and then Julie's been taking the pictures off the porch portraits and doing pictures down in, we have a tunnel that goes under our church between it's a walkway between the church and our commons area, another building that we own. And so we've been putting up those pictures to remind everybody about our disability ministry and to pray for each of our individuals. So that's been exciting as well. But those porch portraits have been very good. They just sign up for a time and go and get them.
I love that. I love how you're using them in so many different ways. And I'm impressed that you can say porch portraits because it's not like a tongue twister. Thank you for sharing, Kathy. That was great. Thank you. All right. Well, we are.
I'll let you
Yeah,
know
go
what we're
ahead,
doing.
Jessica. Go ahead.
We so we're doing, and some of you may have done this, but we're doing the manger project this year because we are back in partially. I think we have about a third of our attendees or our members are back on Sunday mornings, and maybe less than that within our able ministry. But we are doing a project manger where we are building a manger out of wood, and it's a family activity. So they're coming and we have rugs and it'll be separated out in times, and they'll come together and build their manger, and then they get to take it home with them. And we're providing all the materials so they don't have to pay for it. And then we're sending them home with then an Advent calendar too as well, so that they'll do things at home weekly for their Advent calendar.
Very cool. And Jessica, is the manger project like a thing that you go online and buy, like a kit that you
So
buy?
I think it's from Kids Minute. Oh, let me see. Hold on. I gotta look it up. Is it from We Are Kidman, maybe?
Okay. I mean, I've heard of it. Okay. So maybe.
Yeah. So we bought you buy like the package.
Okay.
And it has the directions of all the materials you need and the sizes and the dimensions. And then we have to go out and buy all of the wood. So we have like our men's ministry is buying the wood and cutting it for us, all the size and sorting it so that when they come in, everything that they need is right there and ready. And then they'll work as a family and build their
And that's a cool way to involve the men's ministry too.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then we will have like refreshments and things depending on how the restrictions are. And then there's there's stations that they'll kind of walk through after they build it. Then there's a prayer station to pray over their manger, and then the station where they'll get their Advent calendar, and then kind of a direction. I think there's one activity that they'll do together, and then the direction of how to do it as a family, kind of equipping our families to spend some time in Bible study at home.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, our church has done similar, our children's ministry with Advent wreaths in the past.
Oh, that would be cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, so. All right, well, these were great ideas, everybody. Thank you. I'm definitely going to take these back to my my team here at church, and so I appreciate the time this morning. Our next our November meeting will be, we're going to talk about kind of best practices for running hybrid like classes and support groups, because for many of us, we've got some attending in person, but definitely not all. And so we want to make sure we're doing the best we can to, bring everybody together when you have some virtual and some in person. So thank you all. Oh, yes, Jessica.
This is so random and not on topic, but I think some of you have done this. We're planning like a drive-in movie night. Have any of you had any luck? I have never done this, of getting the rights to the movie or suggestions of where I should start.
Yeah, so I would go to abilityministry.org. They did a whole like a blog worksheet kind of thing on doing drive-in movie nights. So that's a great place to start. And I know there are others who have done things, but that's like a little go-to, like it actually has how to do a drive-in movie night at your church.
Okay, so we're doing it inside, but we're having it as a respite, and I just am.
There are certain things, like you're not allowed to advertise what the movie is. You're not allowed to market what it is. So.
Yeah, I know, and how to get the rights for the movie that we can show. So, okay.
Yeah, check it out. And I would say that's a good place to start with, if you have questions, or if you're a member, and I think you are, of the Special Needs and Disability Ministry Leaders Forum on Facebook, that would be, you could put it out there too, and I'm sure people will answer.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, I look forward to seeing you all in November. And then don't forget, on the first Monday of each month, we do have a roundtable just like this, an idea share. And that is, we don't have a specific topic, but it's just to support and encourage each other, and, talk about how to do our ministries, in a pandemic, and how the reentry is looking and all that. So I look forward to seeing you again online soon. And thanks again for joining today.